Hey everyone, this is Rachel. Just came in to share with you a story that I just read. This story is about Amber Guyger and how she's recently filed a notice of appeal to the courts. Now, y'all, when I read this story, I was feeling some kind of way because it hasn't even been a month since she was given that measly 10 years for taking the life of Botham Jean. So as I read this story, I was sitting there thinking to myself, so what is it? Do they not want her to do any time? Is she not supposed to take responsibility at all for what she did? So here's what happened. Today I read this story about this attorney, Peter Schultz, who tweeted the information about her filing this notice of appeal. Now, what he says is that this doesn't mean that she is definitely going to appeal, but it tells the court that she is thinking about it. Now, y'all, something about that doesn't sit right in my spirit because I believe in a person taking personal responsibility for their actions. And what it feels like to me is that Amber Guyger has not truly accepted that she is the reason that he is dead. Yes, she says it, but she hasn't allowed herself to go down that deep, dark tunnel to acceptance and then accepting your punishment for what you did. Now, I know that it is her right to appeal if appeal is one of those things that are out there on the table for her. But for me, it feels like this is becoming more about Amber Guyger and less about the victim, Botham Jean. Because for me, it feels like he's getting lost in this, that his life had no value. And for me, that is where the problem lays. Because if you are going to consider an appeal for a woman who murdered a man in cold blood, he did nothing to her, and you're going to consider that appeal this soon, something is wrong with that, y'all. And I think a lot of this goes back to when they were having the trial. And I'm sorry to say it, but all that hugging and forgiving and giving of Bibles, it was too much for me. And I also believe that all of that sent a signal to the jury. And when they went back there to deliberate, they looked at it this way. You had his brother come off the stand and go and hug her and say that he didn't even want to see her in jail. You had the father forgiving of her, and you had a judge come off the stand, go over, hug her, give her a Bible, and all of that stuff. And I believe that when you're in an environment like that and you're a juror, it clouds your judgment, your sympathy. And because that person that you can physically see in the court is getting sympathy from the family, and you cannot physically see the victim because he's dead, you start to feel a little sympathy for her. And I think that is so wrong because his life is over. Her parents, at least, even if she got the 99 years, had a place where they could go and visit her, talk to her, touch her, and be in her presence. But his family, on the other hand, will either go to a cemetery and talk to the ground, or they had him cremated and he's in an urn in their home. There is a big difference. But I think all of that stuff that went on in the courtroom clouded those jurors' minds, and this is what we got. See, y'all, when stuff like this happens, I put myself in the place of those parents. and what they are feeling and what they are going through. And at the time that the Amber Guyger trial started, he had been dead a year or a little over a year. So that family had celebrated a bunch of firsts without him. A first Christmas, a first Thanksgiving, a first Mother's Day, a first birthday without him. They had gone through all of that pain, remembering him on those big holidays like that. And then they get to the day of the trial. Now, the fact that she was even convicted, I was surprised because we know how that stuff normally works out when it's a young black male and a police officer has murdered them. So we know that. So when we got to the trial, then I said, well, she's going to walk. And then when they did convict and say that she was going to get some time, I grasped my hands together and I started to pray. And I prayed that she got the maximum amount for taking his life. But when they came back, and it was only 10 years, the mother and me, I would have had a heart attack in the courtroom because I would have been sitting there thinking, my son was on this earth only, 26 years, and his life was taken. And then the person that took it only got 10 years if she serves that amount of time in jail. And from the looks of it, with this appeal, she probably won't do that time. I would be surprised if she did 3, y'all. But that's this thing with forgiveness. Like I said, I know that God tells us to forgive, but they would have had to give me a little time. A little time to get over all of those firsts without my child. Time to come to terms with that I'm never going to see them again. See, I'm a mother. I remember when my child took their first breath. I remember all of the highlights of their lives. So I would not have been able to forgive her that quickly. Now, I'm not going to say that knowing the person that I am and how I do have a good heart, that maybe one day that I would be able to forgive, but I wouldn't have been able to do it that quickly. They say forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you, so that you can live without that hatred in your heart. And y'all, it would have taken me a while to get that hatred out. That's the type of mother that I am. Now, I know that everyone is not like that. Everyone has their different faith in God and their beliefs and all of that. But I still say that a lot of that stuff that went on in that courtroom is why we are where we are now. This is a sad state of affairs because, y'all, what this tells me is what I've always told my son when I was raising him and teaching him about being a young black male in the world. I always used to tell him when he was growing up, in this home, you are, and I would give him his full name. That's who you are in here. You are loved, you are cherished, and all of that. But when you step outside our front door, you are known only as young black male. The world does not care about you. They don't feel empathy for any struggle that you go through because they don't like you. You are like public enemy number one. They don't value your life like your loved ones, your community, and all of us who are behind you value you. And that's what I'm seeing with this sentence that she got, this empathy and sympathy that she's getting because she made a quote unquote mistake. But like I said, her mistake took his life. And it seems unfair to me that our justice system continuously gives people an out when they kill black men. When my son leaves my house, every time he leaves, I stop, I hug him, we kiss, and we say we love each other. Because I know as a parent that he could leave out here, be driving home, get pulled over, things could go left, and my child could be taken from me. Now, y'all, I'm going to watch to see what happens with this appeal. Because honestly, I think with that attorney putting out that tweet today, he was trying to tell us something. Because I didn't see this on CNN, MSNBC, any of the major news broadcasts. I didn't see it there. What happened is I saw another YouTuber's video. And then I said to myself, no, this can't be. She can't be appealing or showing an intent to appeal, and it's only been 3 weeks. So I started researching it a little bit, and then I found the information from that attorney. So it feels like to me that that attorney is trying to send us a message. He's telling us pay attention to what's going on because they have already started the process of appeal. And this boy is dead. Y'all, I have to take a deep breath here because when I hear stuff like this, it bothers me so. And I feel so hopeless because I don't have any power as one person, to make things right for our people. So stuff like this doesn't continue to happen. So when you feel helpless like that, when you feel that all you can do is march and cry and pray and shake your head and send prayers to the family, it leaves you feeling almost hopeless, like this is never going to change. Once, about a couple weeks ago, my son asked me, did I ever think that things would change and it would become easier for people of color? And I had to stop and think about it, y'all. And I said, maybe not in my lifetime. And then the more that I thought about it, I said, maybe never. Because this has gone on for hundreds of years. I always say we have been treated unfairly since the moment that we stepped on the shores of this country. It's always been unfair for us. So being the person that I am and haven't been on this earth this long, I honestly don't believe that it's ever going to change. I look at the death of Bo Botham Jean as another young black man dead, and no one is really going to pay for his life. Not in the way that they should pay. We even have this Tatiana Jefferson death by a police officer. This shows you that, first of all, they're afraid of us. And I don't believe that you should put officers in a community when they are afraid of the community. Because, see, their first thing is not to assess the situation and figure out if they can de-escalate it. Their first thing is shoot first and ask questions later. And then when they're asking those questions, they start to condemn the victim. They go into digging into their past, and if they had anything that was negative, bringing it out to the forefront, which had nothing to do with their murder. A Tatiana Jefferson at home playing a video game. Bo Botham Jean sitting on his couch with his remote, his laptop, and a bowl of ice cream. Young man at home, boxer shorts on, kicked off his flip-flops, just sitting there enjoying the evening. And she comes into his apartment and takes his life. And now they're considering appeal. See, could she not have done the 10 years and then maybe we think about an appeal? Y'all, she hasn't even been in jail 2 months following the sentencing. And we're already hearing that they filed an intent to appeal. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I want to know what you think about it. Did you hear about this, notice of appeal that they filed? And how do you feel about it? Because at the end of the day, I don't believe that, as people say, Bo was a very loving person and that he would have forgiven her and all of that stuff. Y'all, I don't tend to believe that because I know how much my 32-year-old son enjoys his life and being out there making his way and prospering and having triumphs and setbacks. And I believe that Bo would have much preferred to be here, not somewhere in heaven, forgiving the person that killed them. Because I look at my son run out of here to get to life, living his life and just enjoying it. And that's what Bo was doing that day when Amber Guyger walked into his apartment and took his life. And with that, y'all, this is the end of my video. Thank you as always for watching. And you guys stay safe out there. Bye-bye now.